Let me tell you about a time I completely and utterly failed. A few years ago, I launched what I thought was a brilliant business idea. I poured my heart, my savings, everything into it, and 6 months later, it crashed and burned. I was devastated not just because I lost money, but because a little voice in my head kept whispering, "See? You're just not cut out for this. You're not smart enough, not charismatic enough, not a business person." I believed that voice. I let that failure define me. For over a year, I played it safe. I didn't take any risks. I turned down opportunities, and I stayed firmly inside my comfort zone, convinced that I was destined to be average. That failure became the story I told myself about who I was. And I see this all the time. Maybe you can relate. Have you ever wanted to apply for a dream job but stopped yourself, thinking, "I'm not qualified enough"? Or maybe you've avoided speaking up in a meeting because you believe no one wants to hear what I have to say. Perhaps you've shied away from a new relationship, convinced that I'm just not lovable. These are what we call limiting beliefs. They're the invisible scripts that run in the background of our minds, dictating what we can and cannot do. They're the stories we tell ourselves about our identity, our capabilities, and our worth. And the tension they create is immense. It's that frustrating feeling of being stuck, of watching your dreams from the sidelines, knowing you're capable of more but feeling paralyzed by an invisible force. It tests the gap between the person you want to be and the person your inner critic tells you that you are. This internal conflict is exhausting. It keeps you small, it sabotages your progress, and it silently steals your potential. You end up living a life that's a shadow of what it could be, all because of a story you didn't even realize you were writing. So, how do we break free? After wallowing in my own failure for far too long, I got sick of feeling stuck. I realized that the story I was telling myself was just that, a story. And if I wrote it, I could rewrite it, so I took action. The first step was to identify the belief itself. I had to get brutally honest. I wrote it down. I believe I am not a business person, and I will fail at any venture I start. Just seeing it on paper made it feel less powerful, less like a universal truth, and more like a simple, sad sentence. Then I challenged it. I asked myself, is this 100% true? Has every single thing I've ever tried been a failure? Of course not. I started listing counter-evidence, small successes, times I'd been creative, moments I'd led a project. Even in a small way, I was dismantling the lie piece by piece. The third and most crucial step was replacement. You can't just leave a void where a belief used to be. You have to fill it with something better. So I crafted a new, empowering belief. Instead of "I will fail," I started telling myself, "I am a learner." Every attempt, success, or failure is a lesson that makes me smarter and more capable. This wasn't some fake "I am a billionaire" affirmation. It was grounded in reality, but it shifted my entire perspective. Failure was no longer a verdict on my worth. It was simply data for my growth. I started actively looking for evidence to support this new belief. I read books, took small online courses, and started a tiny side project with almost no financial risk. I was training my brain to see myself as a learner, not a failure. This is the action you can take right now. Grab a piece of paper. What's the limiting belief that's holding you back? Write it down. Challenge it with evidence from your past. And then create a new, empowering belief to replace it. A belief that focuses on growth, learning, and possibility. The result of this process was nothing short of transformative. It wasn't overnight, but slowly my confidence started to return. That tiny side project I started, it began to grow. I made mistakes, of course, but instead of being crushed by them, I saw them as lessons. That new belief, "I am a learner," acted like a shield. When self-doubt crept in, I had a response. The fear of failure was replaced by the curiosity to learn. Within 2 years, that little project had become a successful, thriving business, far surpassing what I had even dreamed of with my first attempt. But the biggest result wasn't the business success. It was the internal shift. I was no longer a prisoner of my past failures. I felt free, capable, and in control of my own narrative. My entire energy changed. I became more willing to take calculated risks, to speak my mind, and to pursue opportunities I would have previously dismissed. The world didn't change, but my perception of my place in it did, and that made all the difference. The paralyzing tension was gone, replaced by a sense of forward momentum and excitement for the future. So what's the big takeaway here? Your beliefs create your reality. The stories you tell yourself are the most powerful force shaping your life. Many of these stories are running on autopilot in your subconscious, planted there by past experiences, failures, or things other people have said. But you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts, and you have the power to choose which ones you give energy to. Don't let an old, outdated narrative sabotage your future. Your potential is not defined by your past failures, but by your willingness to learn from them and write a new story. The process is simple, but not always easy. Identify the limiting belief, challenge its validity, and consciously replace it with an empowering one. Do this consistently, and you will fundamentally change your life. You'll stop being a passenger driven by fear and become the author of your own success story. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about the limiting belief you're ready to rewrite in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content on building a life you love. We're all in this together. See you in the next one.